B. Nichols. Please mute. My name is B. Nichols, and I will be joined, next slide, by my colleagues here at DFSS.
No, good shit. Avoid education.
Please mute. Can everybody please mute? Thank you. I will be joined by my colleagues here at DFSS who will walk you through each of these content areas. You see that the 45-day priorities apply to multiple content areas: health, education, disabilities, family and community engagement, and then program management, which is a very large section. Just a reminder that everything that we're going to go over here today is also in the STELS 2.0 map. So before we get started, I want to turn it over to my colleague, Martise, to give us an introduction on the webinar. Martise.
Good afternoon, everyone. We will have some question and answers at the very end, but you will hear from multiple presenters, so please hold your questions. You can use the chat, you can put it on your own little post-it, but all questions will be addressed at the very end. We'll try to leave like 10 minutes to do the Q&A, and then if there's anything that will be shared, if it cannot be shared on screen, you will receive it, of course, in a CSD update. This recording will be shared via the CSD YouTube channel. And those of you who have registered for this webinar, you will receive the actual recording and transcription via your email. Thank you.
Thank you, Martise. All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. And each of the presenters will introduce themselves to you. And we're going to begin with health services.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Monica, and I will be talking to you about the health services today. So some of the health service, that's 45-day requirements. All children birth to 5 years must have a complete and up-to-date physical exam prior to attendance. Means all children, once they are day one of the current complete physical is required upon admission. The physicals may not be older than 6 months prior to the child actual attendance in the program. Numerical levels of screening must be documented on the physical form as well. Very important, pending results must be obtained within the first 45 days as well. Best practice is for everyone. Hold on, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Dependent results must be obtained within the first 45 days. It's best practice to have parents to come in the center with a complete full physical with everything listed on the physical. Any follow-ups from abnormal results is also required within the 45 days to be obtained by the first 45 days. So obtain dental exams within the first 45 days attendance for home visits. Dental exams is also needed to be obtained within the first 45 days of enrollment. This exam may also not be older than 6 months at the time of the enrollment. Please case notes on communication about any follow-up with the family. Case notes is very, very important to know what's going on, what type of communication that you are having with the parents about anything to do with health services with the children. And now I'm gonna turn it over to the next slide.
I'm sorry, can you go back to the previous slide just real quick? So for health services, for PFA and PI, just a quick reminder, physical for PFA and PI as well, physicals must be no later than 6 months prior to enrollment. PFA also, children also need lead screening and TB screenings. The physical should be is valid for at least 2 years. The dental, they also need a dental no later than 6 months prior to enrollment, and that as well is needed every 2 years. Health screenings for all children must be completed upon arrival, the same way we do for Head Start and Early Head Start. The children need to be screened upon arrival at the center. Children with, hearing and vision must be conducted annually for PFA. Any communicable diseases must be reported to DFSS as well for PFA programs. And ongoing two-way communication should also be documented for both PFA and PI programs as well. Next slide, please.
Excuse me, are we supposed to be able to see the slides? I don't see anything.
Is that the case for everyone? Can everyone see the screen?
No, the screen shows fine.
I could see the screen.
Yeah,
Yeah, toothbrushing. I can
you can see
too.
the screens.
I see it fine. The screen is visible.
If he's on the cell phone, he may have to swipe his screen to the left.
Okay, if you can listen in, we will be getting the slide deck back out to everyone. So if we can continue with the presentation.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mia Washington, Health and Safety Support Service Coordinator. Toothbrushing. All programs should be intentional about promoting oral hygiene for all children receiving services. Toothbrushing should be done at a table, and each child should receive a small paper cup, a paper towel, and a soft brush child-sized toothbrush. Head Start program should promote effective oral hygiene for all infants and children receiving services. Teeth brushing in group care settings can resume if the program can implement the following strategies and best practices. For toothbrushing at the classroom table, sit children with staff supervising the brushing. After brushing, clean and sanitize the table. If toothbrushing at the classroom table is not possible, children can brush at the sink with staff supervising. The sink should be cleaned and sanitized after each child finishes brushing. So encourage children to avoid placing toothbrushes directly on the classroom table or other surfaces. So a helpful tip to help prevent children from placing toothbrushes directly on a surface is for teachers to act as role models. Teachers are encouraged to set an example for children by brushing their teeth with children when possible. The cleaning procedure for infants includes using a gauze. Teachers should massage the gums and wipe them with the gauze. After feeding an infant, wipe their gums and teeth with a one-time use gauze pad. This is to remove remaining liquid that is on the teeth and gums, which can lead to tooth decay. Teachers should wash their hands before and after cleaning the infant's gums and teeth. Another important procedure is hand washing. Teachers should wash hands for at least 20 seconds before and after assisting older children or infants. Older children that can brush their own teeth can be assisted while washing their own hands. Actually, at the bottom of this slide is a link to the eClick website, which has many resources regarding teeth brushing for children. Thank you. You can go to the next slide.
Nutrition services. Nutrition assessments must be completed for Head Start and Early Head Start. Head Start, we use the nutrition portion on the health history piece. And for the Early Head Start, we have an infant and toddler nutrition assessment that must be completed for all 0 to 3. If you can create a special care plan if needed for Head Start and Early Head Start, as well as for PFA and PI. That includes if children are have allergies and overweight, underweight, obese, etc. Growth assessments must be completed twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. Your nutritionist should be reviewing those growth assessments to follow up with families who are in need of an action plan. All plans and I'm sorry, menus should be posted in the kitchen and in the classroom. All menus should be following the guidelines for USDA and food portions for 0 to 3 and for 3 to 5. All programs, including PFA and PI, must have an approved menu and posted in kitchen and classroom. Classrooms food experiences must be conducted for Head Start and other Head Start programs. For PFA and PI programs, this is also encouraged to have food experiences and learning experiences while we are eating with the children at the table. Please remember that we are doing family style meal service and all teachers should be interacting with children during this time. Next slide, please.
Family style meals. All programs, as previously mentioned, must have an active CACFP contracts and follow all meal service requirements of the USDA, city, and state licensing. Although we are currently not under COVID protocol, we are continuing to wash our hands frequently, sanitizing the tables and chairs and toys as much as possible. And teachers and children should fully be practicing in family style meals. Children should be assisting with setting the tables prior to eating. All utensils should be size appropriate. Children under 2 should not be using or served any styrofoam utensils. And teachers should also be eating and encouraging with conversations with the children during this time as well. Next slide, please.
Hello again. Mental health and well-being, first 45 days. The goal of mental health services is to promote an environment that assists children in their emotional, cognitive, and social development. On the slide are items that are due the first 45 days of a new program year. All agencies must create an environment of attitudes and behaviors of well-being throughout the program. So with the mental health services it should include individual child and classroom observations, planning with parents about the mental health education program, crisis intervention and referrals, preparing both behavior plans for individual children and classroom management plans. And it's important to provide resources that the mental health provider would need to fulfill the services that are outlined in the sales manual. Last but not least, continuity of relationships should be implemented. Children and teaching staff stay together from enrollment through transition to preschool or through transition to kindergarten. Continuity of relationships, which is an element that promotes mental health and well-being. It actually facilitates secure attachments for children. It strengthens family caregiver partnerships. It creates a family-like atmosphere and improves children's behaviors. And actually, you can find more details on continuity of relationships in the sales, of course, on page 93. And you can also see the requirements for mental health providers on in the sales, of course, on pages 124 to 132. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Raven Jackson. I'm a SSC over facilities, transportation, and program governance. I'll be going over health and safety practices. All right. All Chicago early learning facilities must have a current DCFS license and a City of Chicago license. This includes socialization spaces also. All Chicago early learning license exempt facilities must have a current DCFS exemption letter. Sites must conduct health and safety checks on the facility's indoor and outdoor spaces to ensure your staff is engaged in active supervision. Sites should implement a system for ongoing preventative maintenance to lessen the likelihood of equipment failure. For example, having licensed professionals come out and check your heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical, or fire safety, etc. Please remember to report any issues immediately to your assigned monitoring team lead at DFSS. Also, remember to report incidents affecting the health and safety of any program participant immediately to your assigned monitoring team lead at DFSS. Next slide. This is a copy of our DFSS incident reporting form. After you immediately notify the monitoring team lead, you should complete this form and submit it within 24 hours. Next slide.
Good afternoon. My name is Tasia Evans, and I oversee program governance, transportation, and facilities. Today, I will be talking to you about active supervision. Keeping children safe is a top priority and is the most effective strategy for creating a safe environment and preventing injuries. Staff should use a systematic approach by being intentional and using forced attention to ensure that no child is left unattended. There are 6 strategies that teachers can use to ensure that children are safe. The first one, set up the environment. Set up the environment so you can supervise children and that they are able to be reached if necessary. Keep spaces clutter-free and place furniture so you can observe the whole entire classroom. The position of staff. The staff should position themselves so that they can see as well as hear all children and ensure that there are clear paths to where children are playing, sleeping, and eating. The third one is to scan and count. Always be aware of where every child is and what they are doing. Scan the entire environment and count children frequently, especially during transitions when moving from one location to another. Listen. Listen closely to children to identify signs of potential danger. Listen for signs that children are getting upset or for sounds in the environment such as bells on the door that alert you when a child leaves or enters the room. Anticipate children's behavior. Use what you know about each child's temperament, developmental abilities, interests, and skills to predict what the child will do next. Pay attention to the child's mood or health and anticipate when they wander off, get upset, or take a dangerous risk. And the last strategy is to engage and redirect. Offer support by using what you know about each child's individual needs and development. Encourage children to solve problems on their own and help them develop solutions if needed. Offer developmental levels of assistance or redirection depending on each child's needs. Just a friendly reminder that keeping children safe is everyone's business. Thank you. Next slide.
So we're actually going to pivot and show you the COVID reporting form. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen.
So as you all know, COVID is on the rise. The form that you see on the screen is our COVID reporting form. In the event that you have a child or someone in your facility who comes in contact with COVID or is test positive for COVID, then the form should be filled out and sent to your health and safety SSC or supervisor. Thank you.
Good afternoon, programs. As we move through our presentation regarding the 45-day requirement, we are facing family engagement and community partnership, first 45 days priorities. So it is a must, as it outlines in the sales, must, we have to have a family support service worker or family support specialist in order for this particular piece of our program to be up and running and active and functioning at the capability that it should be. So we want to make sure we have our family support specialists. And with that in mind, whether you have a returning family support specialist or you have someone that leaves and comes in new, make sure that these staff are trained in that PTA, parents as teachers, parents as teachers as identified below. It's part of the curriculum for um, Head Start, early Head Start programs, as well as our home visitors PI program. So we want to make sure that those individuals are trained in that particular curriculum. So it also indicates family partnership agreement process. All program operations must offer parents opportunities to engage in family goal setting, taking into consideration the family's willingness to engage in the process. So again, going back to family support workers or family support specialists, as well as anyone that does enrollment, is real critical and important for us to engage our families early on, kind of see what their interests are, so that we can help to navigate them through the program year and season. We don't want to miss opportunities with our families where we can really engage and connect them to resources that are helpful for them and support them through that school year. Thirdly, offer the family the opportunity to engage in the process of setting of goals. So we want to strongly encourage our families to identify or just take a minute after they enroll, review some information, and think about what goals that they want to see themselves move forward in, or be connected to positive resources within the communities that can help get them stable, whether it's employment, housing, some additional supports that they may need. So we want to be able to, again, as the framework talks about, we want to build a positive relationship with our families. Fourth is make appropriate referrals and maintain contact with families on their caseload every 30 days. So if we're having contact with our families every 30 days, we're building a relationship. We're becoming familiar with our families and what their needs are, and again, helping to better navigate them, provide additional good resources that they are able to access and that they would really be able to gain a benefit from. So we want to be able to do that and be mindful. So we want to make sure that we're documenting these things, whether it's case notes or minutes when we're having meetings with our parents. However, we are providing this information, we want to be able to show that we're supporting it and we have documentation to prove that. Implement parent orientation and share parent handbook. That's a must. That's a requirement. We, again, there's a signed signature programs have as it relates to saying, I have provided this parent with this parent handbook. We have reviewed and discussed this. So we want to make sure that we are aligning ourselves again with the parent handbook and also sharing vital information with our parents as they embark in this new journey with us for the new school year. Create community partnership agreements with local organizations. So as Health and FCE, we ask for your community partnership agreements. That's just so we know that who you're networking with and linking your program with is to support your programs and the services that are need for your families that are receiving services from your particular agency. And as I shared above about parents as teachers, is their approved curriculum. I know in our current sales, and when our current sales is going to be updated, I'm sure soon as we get into the new year, but that's our curriculum. So Baby Talk is no longer our curriculum, but I just want to make sure that you guys know that Parents as Teachers is our approved curriculum. So we want to make sure again that our family support specialists as well as or family support worker have receive that training, and that training should have been before your family's enrolled so that they're able to make those connections and build great partnerships and develop those great plans for those families. Thank you. Next slide, please. As we wrap up family and community engagement, education staff and parents should communicate regularly about child's learning, development, routines, activities, behavior, and progress. Parent-teacher conferences must be conducted. So yes, we know we have our schedule for our parent-teacher conferences. We want to make sure that we are adhering to that and we are meeting with our parents and holding those conferences. But we also want to make sure that we do those other meetings as outlined for that 30 days as well. Programs must ensure staff are able to communicate effectively with children who are dual language learners. So we want to make sure we get that in there and provide those appropriate services as outlined in order for them to be able to learn as well. So whatever interpretations we need or translations we need, we want to make sure that we have those services. And if you are in need of resources, please contact the department as it relates to that or any of the information that has been shared. Offer family engagement events for families to interact with each other. So again, identifying your programs as well as sharing those that information with the department so that we can be part of that success for your families at the beginning as well as during and after the school year. So we want to make sure we have a successful year with our children and our families as well as our communities. Thank you. Next slide.
Okay, overview of preschool vision and hearing screening. Our vision and hearing technicians follow the Illinois Department of Public Health protocols. Next slide. First thing that you're going to receive is you're going to receive a cover letter. And in this cover letter, as you can see, we are going to give you the dates of service that we're going to make for your agencies and your sites. What we will need and request is a parental consent. That should already be on file. We are also going to ask that you have a helper on hand, not only to assist the technician during the screenings, but to escort the children to and from the classrooms. We also ask that you designate an appropriate location for these screens. We need a room that's at least 10 feet, that it has working outlets, it's well lit, there's a quiet area, there are 2 tables at a minimum, and that there are child-sized chairs. The reason we need the chairs is because, as you know, children get a little antsy when they're sitting and waiting for their turn. So having that helper there and the chairs is going to really be a compliment to the technician. Next slide. This is the orientation packet that you will receive. And this is before the technician gets on site. You typically receive this 1 to 2 weeks before your site visit. The packet includes, and we'll go through these in a minute, there's a cover letter, the one that I just showed you. We also have the class list of all the children to be seen. There is the practice for the HOTV game, which comes in a flyer. There's the hearing and vision screening record folder, which we call the manila folder. And there's the hearing and vision screening notification. And we ask that that be posted. We use the HOTV game because that's what Illinois Department of Public Health has adopted. Next slide. So this is the manila form that I just spoke about. On this form, we're recording not only the vision screen, but the hearing screen. This goes in the child's file, health file. And the outcomes can either be a pass. We don't typically like to use fail, but we will say unable, because we know children get nervous about these types of things. They may not be having a good day, just like some of us. So we will record unable. If the child is absent, And if the child needs to be referred, all of that information can be found on this form. Next slide. So for a vision referral follow-up, if we have a vision referral, you see that we have the form here that is through the state of Illinois. That form will go to the parent, and the parent will typically receive some resources of where else they can go for either the optometrist to look at the child's eyes. A little later, we are going to be also giving you a walkthrough of CARES and how to enter information into CARES for each of these sections. So the referral outcomes are returned to the site. Once the site receives them, they need to put that information into CARES and inform their technician, because we track it here as well. Next slide. Same sort of follow-up and steps for hearing. This is what the audiologist will use, and they will return it back to the site. Next slide.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natasha Belt. I am a quality SSE, and today I'll be talking to you all about screening, developmental screenings. Programs must administer and obtain a current developmental and social emotional screening within 45 days of the child's first program attendance or home visit for the program year to screen for developmental delay or concerns. Now, I know you all see the number 45, those are calendar days, but what I always encourage everyone is not to wait to the 45th day. I tell sites often focus on 30 days. That way, if anything come up, any absences, anything was to happen, you'll still have time to screen your children. It is very imperative and important that we make sure we screen all children within the 45 days. So just push for the 30 days. That way you'll have extra time at the end for any rescreens or anything that you need to do in case students have been absent. Screening for returning children can be conducted beginning as early as July 1 for every year, and will count as meeting the 45-day requirement. So if you have new students that came in July 1 and those screen and you have screened them already, those screenings are good for the current 24-25 school year. So if they return the students, then that's different. But if they have came into your program July 1 to now and you screen them, it is okay to use that screening for this school year. Children with the current certified IEP or IFSP are not required to be screened. Again, they are not required to be screened. However, it is recommended if it is suspected any additional services may be needed. So if you have a child that have an IEP or IFSP, but you might see some delays in other areas, it is okay if you administer those screenings on those children if there are additional concerns. Parent guardian must give written consent to conduct screenings. Again, as B has stated before, you can screen any child in your agency or in your site. They must have a written consent. The consent must have a signature and the date. The date must be prior to or before screening the children. So you cannot have a date of 9/6 for a consent form and then they have a screening date of 8/25/24. The screening will not be valid because the parent did not give you consent to screen their child. Parent guardian must be provided information regarding the purpose of the screening. So why are you screening my child? Screening results, what was the results of the screening? And how screening results will be used. If they pass, it's okay, that's great, but if they didn't, what's the next steps? The following research-based developmental screening tools must be used as designated, including
I'm sorry, as designed, including frequency. So we are currently using the ASQ3 for 0 to 3 ASQ3s and the ASQ SEs, which is ages and stages questionnaire social emotional for 2s and 3s. That is the research-based tool that we have chose to use. If you need more information on that, you can see sales pages 88 through 91 and sales 2.0, or if you need further information on that, you also can look up the Head Start Performance Standards 1302.33. And this is a requirement for both PFA and PFA, PI, and Head Start and Early Head Start. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit more about about COVID and e-learning. All designated agencies have policies and procedures established regarding the screening process, as well as the DFSS COVID-19 policy. Procedures shall include how the screening, no, let's go back. So this is more pertaining to, we are out of COVID, so we are not pushing e-learning. But in the instance that you have a child that can't get to school, or had COVID, or whatever the issue might have been, they still are required to meet the 45-day calendar date for screening. So if you have to administer these screenings in the home, you do have a policy and procedure that is in place from DFSS. Policies and procedures should include how the screening process will be conducted virtually for e-learners. Again, we are not pushing e-learning. This is just a case-by-case scenario. In instance that a child cannot get to school and you have to screen them virtually. So e-learners and guidance. I'm sorry, let me read that. So let me read that again. So procedures should include how the screening process will be conducted virtually for e-learners, and guidance, tips and resources provided by the developer of the screening tool when working virtually with parents during COVID-19. So please, we are not pushing e-learning, but in the instance that your baby has to be tested or screened, I apologize, screened virtually, then follow the policies and procedures for the COVID-19 DFSS. Thank you.
Hello, guys. My name is Marisol Rosa Rodriguez. I'm an SSC on the ERSI. I'll be talking to you guys in regards to the program governance 45 days. We're asking that you guys implement activities to establish for the program for the new years to get re-elect and elected policy committee members. Remember, support your parents in convening their monthly parent and policy committee meetings and maintaining record-keeping systems for securing those materials. So you can put in a binder, a folder, whatever is easier, whatever systems you have in place to ensure that whoever needs to revise or look at those meetings, that they're kept in a place where you can get them easily and available. Conduct parent orientation sessions at each site and partner, inclusive of education parents on policies and committee services, and parent committee involved and expectations. Again, this is geared to ensure that our parents are involved in that so we can have them in the PPC and then again with the CPPC. Conduct parent committee elections for the site officers and policy committee members for the program year. Remember, policy committee should be established and seated within the first quarter of the program year. The CPPC letter of certification is due to DFSS on October 1st annually to ensure that we're supporting the DFSS Policy Council in establishing seated for their services for the year. So again, this is very important and crucial that you guys engage those parents and have them come to your meeting, and then have them come to our meeting so that they can get some information that they can share with you guys. And remember, refer to CELS 2.0 for collective governance for policy and committee and board expectations. Thank you and have a good day. Next slide. Okay. Program management, 45 days. Conduct quality assurance internal monitoring assessments to ensure that All staff have current physicals and that updates are recorded in staff HR files. All new and existing staff have received, reviewed, and signed the standard of conduct acknowledging forms, provided staffs a copy and orientation within 90 days. All staff have criminal record clearance dates recorded in their HR files. All staff, as applicable, have current first aid, CPR, and are up to date on completing the mandated reporter training. And remember, CPR is always and first aid every 2 years, as well as CRCs are every 5. So keep that catalog so that you guys know on a regular basis of who needs to do follow-ups if they're due to expire. Conduct pedestrian safety trainings for parents and children within the first 30 days of program year, and conduct bus monitoring training for staff that occupy children on field trips involving bus transportation. Please review cell 2020, section 13 under transportation. First bus evacuation drill occurs first 3 months of the operation and prior to the first field trip. So again, you have to do it the first 3 months and before the first field trip that you put them children in a bus, okay? So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to your SSC in regards to any of these PowerPoint clips that we have shown you. Next, and we'll be giving it to Craig. And then also, go ahead.
Yes, have to ongoing monitor.
Okay. It is important that the cell program has an effective system in monitoring health and family services. Today, we're focusing on priorities that may take place within the first 45 days of operation. DFSS, CSD will be offering additional information in these respective contact areas. Look for upcoming trainings and dates, topics via CSD electronic updates and CSD professional development pamphlet. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Now we'll turn it over to Craig.
Hi, I'm Craig Zemke, supervisor for data at DFSS, and I can't share my screen unless you make me a presenter. So I do have some slides here.
I'll just share, Craig. I'm downloading the slide right now.
Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is the need to start documenting all of this. The fields that we've gone through discussing for the 45 days are things that we can and must be recording in CSD Cares at this point, so we can, roll up the data and can get agency and citywide stats on where we are with meeting these requirements. I've been for the federally funded folks, I've been reporting the PIR, and the last couple of years offline. And what we have kind of distressingly found is that a lot of agencies are missing the 45-day deadline, not necessarily by a lot, but as was pointed out before, these are calendar days. So if you started on September 1st, say, then October 15th is your 45th day. And so you don't get weekends off, you don't get holidays off. And if the day falls on a Sunday and you do the screening on Monday, it doesn't count. So you should think 30, which is helpful because there's 30 days in September. So for the children who started with you at the beginning of the year, all of these things, just think about getting them done while it's still September, and they'll be in date. So here, what you're seeing right now is a little screenshot from part of the child contact record page. Almost everything I'm going to talk about is found in the same place. So when you look up a child in CSD Cares, which is pretty easy, just type their name in the search bar and it should take you to their contact record. So when you look at a child contact record, the right side of the screen will have all these little boxes. You can see several of them right here. And these are what we refer to as related fields or related boxes. So if I call something a related box, this is what I'm talking about. There are boxes here on the child's file for every child. And the ones you're looking at right now, they don't have anything in the boxes. Because this was a test child, but in fact, you should be seeing these. So for each of the items you're going to fill out, with one exception that I'll get to, you'll come to the child's record and just click on the new next to the type of object that it is. So what I have circled right here is the health history. As stated, we need to get that in as part of the original 45-day goal. So because it's during this period that you want to make a determination of whether the child is up to date or not on the EPSDT schedule of medical services. And if you've determined that they're not up to date, you need to then come up with a plan or work with the parent to figure out how you can get whatever screenings or services are missing or needed. So this is where they are, and I'll go through some of the other ones in a little bit more detail here, but they're, with, again, one exception that I'll point out, they're all going to be found on the child's contact record page in one of these boxes. You won't see all of them immediately when you log in. You just need to scroll down. That's all. So keep going down until you see it. It takes a minute to load in many cases. So the boxes are blank first, and then the contents will load. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so immunizations, similarly, this is a related field box on the child record. It will not be blank. When you enroll a child, based on their birth date, the CSD Cares is automatically going to decide how many immunizations they should have had by this point, and it's going to create blank shot records. So if you scroll down to immunization, you will see a box like this, and it should already have the different types of immunizations that are available listed here. So in each case, when you click on the name of the immunization, you can then go in and it'll guide you through it, but there are fields that you need to fill out. Basically, when did they get the shot? Is another one due, or are they completed with the series now? So you'll enter that information, and from there, the system will then calculate whether they're up to date with their immunizations. So like several other things, again, it's going to decide based on the birth date what they need, and it'll give you blank objects to complete. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the exception, the family engagement community partnerships piece. So to create family goals and add referrals and so on, that's not going to be done from the child's record, but from the parent. So again, you can search for them just using the search bar. If you're in the child record, near the top left, it's going to have a link for the household they're part of, and you can find the family from there. So you click on that link, and you go to the household page, and that will allow you to create a family goal. This what you're looking at right now will be in the upper right hand corner. You see the little red arrow that's pointing down too. And sometimes it depends on what other things you have access to report on, or how even what the zoom setting, or the width of the screen that you're using. Sometimes the menu looks different. That little triangle, that red triangle that's pointing down, will open up more menu items. So if you're looking at the household and you don't see the Create Family Goal link, just click on that triangle, and there will be a list of other activities that come out, and this should be on there. So you click on the Create Family Goal, and then you'll come up with a record. So you'll give it a name, describe what their goal is in more specific terms in the description, but then you'll pick from a list of the type of goal it is, what category it is. There's a list in the pull down, just pick the one that fits best. And then you'll have a due date, which you'll be able to edit and decide in what period of time you want to accomplish this goal. So again, it's not one form that you'll keep adding things to. The family can have multiple goals. Again, every time you go into the create family goal link, it'll give you the opportunity to create a new one. Next slide. Yes, thank you. So the referral, similarly, there will be referrals on the household page, but this will again be in a what do you call it? A related box, just like the child items are. So to add a referral, again, give it a name that you'll understand and recognize. And then again, with the type and the status and so on. So again, I don't have a great report for this now, but as soon as we get, as you may know, we're rolling out the CCAP model right now. So as soon as we get through the current month's activities, we're going to be bearing down on getting better reports here. So we'll be able to get these, report linking the categories of goal with the referrals towards that end. But that'll only help you if you put them in first. But this is where you will do that. Next slide, please. Okay. So when we talk about needing to get screenings in 45 days, there are a couple different kinds of screenings. So the hearing and vision screenings are actually part of what CSD Cares refers to as health events. And so that, again, is its own related box on the child contact record. So health events are also going to be pre-populated with blank forms, again, based on the child's age. So it will tell you if you're enrolling 3 or 4-year-olds, say, there might be several years worth of events that have suddenly appeared. What we're looking for right now is the more recent one. So if they're up to date, you'll just put in the most recent record for the different events. And events are like physical, blood work, and so on. But the hearing and vision screenings that you need to get done this month are records on under the health events, as opposed to just being documented in the screening section. So there will be the hearing screening and the vision screening. When you actually see it in the system, it'll have an age. So it'll be the one that they're closest to. So there's like a 2-year-old hearing screening. And you'll just click on the appropriate one and you'll put in the a name for it here again, and you'll just need to put in the date that the screening was conducted and the status. Again, it's whether they need referral or unable to condition or what have you. You should put the status in right here. And then save that and it'll record when you do that, but you also put in the date on which the screening was conducted. Next slide, please. Oh, yes, we're here. Okay, so the developmental screenings have their own box. I believe they were a little bit overzealous, I guess. I believe they're also in the system under health events, but we need you to go to this box that's called screenings and assessments and put in both the basic developmental screening and the hearing and vision screening, not the hearing, sorry, the developmental screening and the social emotional screening here under the developmental screening box. So that'll be 2 records, even for birth to 3 kids who you're using a form of the ASQ for both. Put in a record that says when their developmental screening was done and then a separate one, even if it's at the same time, for the hearing or the, sorry, I keep saying that, for the social emotional screening. And then, of course, obviously for 3 to 5-year-olds, you're going to use some version of the ESI for developmental screening, and you'll still put in that ASQ SE for the social emotional, so that we can track and see that both of those dates were done before the deadline. So there is no reason to wait for the deadline. However, this is well, now it's Friday afternoon, so no, but next week is a fine time to do them, and there is not really any reason to wait. So you can do them and put them in here.
Craig,
Yes.
there's a question. How do I schedule an in-person training for health events and cares? Also, who do I contact for support?
So I don't know that we're going to be able to do that before the upcoming in-service. So we have a few weeks and there are a lot of just basic beginning of the year things that we need to get out of the way. But we are going to be offering some things at that in-service. I think we should have remembered to plug that before. But if you haven't received information about that, let us know. But we are going to be offering some in-person trainings at that event. And then afterwards, we'll be scheduling some items, although it'll be probably part of a larger piece. It's once you get into and do this, it's actually not that complicated. So a training that's just on the health events is going to be like 15 minutes long, right? I mean, you're going to the tricky bit is what I talked about before. You need to understand when the kid is 4 and there's 4 different health screenings on there, that identifying which one is the current option that you need to fill in. Any other questions? Oh, I know what to tell you about questions. So go to the next slide, please. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of a couple things here, because it was supposed to be part of the overall rollout of CSD Cares, but we were not able to bring that online in the first year. But now we have rolled out the new ServiceNow help desk product. So when you are in the CSD Cares environment, when you log in and you get your dashboard before you go into any particular app, one of them is, as you can see in this picture up in the upper left-hand corner, the greenish box that says Now, and that is ServiceNow. And when you log into that, it looks like this. So there are 2 things that are very key to know about here. Obviously, the link there that says Get Help will take you to the new help desk location, so that if you have questions about how to do something, you're encountering errors, like you're struggling to figure out how to do something, you can go there and start a ticket. When you tell it what your issue is, the system will also recommend some content for you, and often that will solve the problem. But the other link here, where it says
Praise
knowledge.
Lord, Craig, to know.
Yes.
Sorry, this is Angel, manager of program admin. The question that was just asked about the training, this is where they go for the training. Because once they get the access and they can log in, data doesn't train you. So you can go here and find the information that you need and then talk to your content area, who should be able to train you on what you need to do in the system.
Yes. Exactly. There are three kinds of training materials that are available in the knowledge base, which is this link here. There are like one page or a couple page instructions for how to do specific tasks. There are some recorded trainings, webinars, and like short, like 5-minute video segments on how to complete specific tasks that are very useful, and you can look those up by subject matter. And the third type is something new that they've been trying in the last few months. It's called a self-paced training course, and it's like an interactive training piece where you click on things and move through them, and you advance from screen to screen at your own pace. That again, many of them are bite-sized chunks, so you can get through specific instructions about how to complete certain fields. So a lot of the things that people want to know about how to accomplish certain things or how to find or enter certain things are in the knowledge base. So if you go there, say on Friday afternoon after the webinar gets over, and poke around in there, you'll find a lot of interesting stuff and instructions about how to accomplish a lot of tasks. So it's worth spending a little bit of time in there just to see what's already available in terms of training materials.
Right. There's a question in the chat. We submitted requests for teachers CARES access. However, they're not popular yet.
Yes, so did everybody, I think you did because of the way you're asking this, but I hope everyone found the road to CSD CARES roadmap that we gave out at the last EDP meeting, and also I believe sent out in a couple of the recent CSD update emails. So there's several different ways to request access beginning on your status. So we do have a number of requests, and we are IT is working their way through them. Again, and I want to stress this every time that I speak to people to reduce the amount of frustration that we all have. The person that gives access is not me, like it was in COPA. So I can't actually add a user for you. I don't have that kind of into the system. So we have an IT department that handles that. But while we're still looking at the ServiceNow slide, if you put a request in with the request form and you haven't gotten any feedback from that and still can't get in, go ahead and go to Get Help and start a ticket and say, I requested access. If you remember what date or close enough, we can give it there too. And then someone from IT, probably Alberto is his name, will get back to you about that. Sometimes what happens is that when access is created for somebody, it will send a confirmation email that you need to log in for the first time to verify that it's you. And for many people, it gets stuck in the spam filter. So you don't see it because it's with your junk mail. So you will let them know that you haven't received anything. The key can resend you something and work with you to make sure that you get it. But you would get start a ticket there. So I see the question, where do I find it? Where to get a password for ID for CARES? Let me see. Again, I don't provision that, but we have this handy roadmap. So they're depending on what stage of the process you are. There are 3 different routes to get in there. Actually, what this is, if you have a smartphone that can read a QR code and take you to a web page, there's 3 different QR codes on the roadmap, and you scan the appropriate one. It's either a new user who's never had it, someone who has user access but cannot log in. There are different QR codes to scan. And then the third option is if you have access to CSD Cares, but you don't, either you can't see the right sites or you can't perform certain functions that you need to do, but you are able to log in, that's where you'll come to ServiceNow and start a ticket.
All right, not seeing any other questions. If people have questions, please put them in the chat. I'm seeing most have been answered. Thank you, Craig. And we wanna, Angel, if you're still on, I know you had something very important that you wanted to share.
You talking about me, right, B?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So one of the good things that we learned from last fiscal year, which was really just the beginning of this year, is how to navigate the PIR a little bit better so we can get better information. And so one of the things that we're doing this year, we have already, the data team has already sent out the PIR, sorry, to the agencies. Next week in all staff, Craig will be going over the PIR in the all staff, on my all staff slide. Hopefully I told him that before, he just found out right now. And then shortly after that, that same day, all of you all on the floor will be able to have access to the PIR. So you can use it as a tool to check and see where your agencies are and how they're inputting stuff. Now, this is an important, crucial thing that we found out. Bad information in is bad information out. One of the things that people need to know is that PIR reads off of all of its tabs. And so when you put in your child and the start date, and then you put in the medical date or medical event, perfect, good. But when you put the child in and then there's no start date, even if you have a medical date, it's still going to give you bad information because it shows the child as part of the count, but with no beginning date, none of the events matter. Another thing is if there's no end date, because I know we have some transient kids who may be enrolled in 1 week and 3 weeks later they move to another agency or side of town or whatever the circumstance may be. If you don't put that end date in, guess what? If you have a beginning date and then it shows that there's no health event, it just looks like we didn't do anything on the PIR for that child. And that's not the case because the child wasn't there long enough for us to do the work. One of the other issues that we noticed and we're going to fix in service, hopefully this is not the first time Craig is hearing this as well, we're going to have a little PIR session for in service where we're able to go over with the agencies and explain how the PIR works and how one tab is linked to another tab. And so the dates we gave them last year for please start this tab and have it done by this time, then do this tab and have it done by this time, we'll explain and show in detail for our visual learners how that all works. So I thought that was a good lesson for us to learn. That's all I have. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Angel. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you for staying with us until the end of the presentation. We have about over 100 folks that joined us. So we encourage you to get your last minute questions in, and we will respond even if we leave the session. We still get those questions, and we will be responding. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.